Washington is acting out again. This time, China's overseas military ports have been destroyed by the US military. In this video, let us learn more about it. Recently, the United States has become very suspicious of the United Arab Emirates because it feels that it is too close to China. This time, just hours before U.S. Defense Secretary Austin visited the Middle East, the Wall Street Journal published an article stating that China was secretly building suspected military facilities at a port in the United Arab Emirates. After several months of intensive efforts by senior U.S. officials, Afghanistan finally suspended the project. However, U.S. officials have repeatedly emphasized that they are committed to an enduring partnership between the United States and the UAE. During his visit, Austin also had kind words and various promises for Middle Eastern countries, including the United Arab Emirates. However, Al Jazeera also published an article calling the UAE a suspicious ally of the United States. What kind of drama has the United States directed and acted in the United Arab Emirates? CNN called it a key diplomatic victory for the United States in its competition with China. Has the United States really found a way to manipulate the UAE? A few days ago, the Wall Street Journal quoted people familiar with the matter as saying that U.S. intelligence agencies learned this spring that China was secretly building suspected military facilities at the Khalifa Port 80 kilometers near Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. The United States is highly alert to this and has launched intensive diplomatic efforts for several months. White House National Security Advisor Sullivan visited Abu Dhabi in late September and introduced the situation at the port in detail. McGurk, a senior aide on Middle East affairs, recently traveled to the United Arab Emirates again to meet with the Crown Prince. In these meetings and visits, the price offered by the United States was also very clear. According to people familiar with the matter, the first is a $23 billion deal for F-35 fifth-generation fighter jets and MQ-9 Reaper drones between the United States and the UAE, and the second is a strategic agreement for the United States to provide defense protection if the UAE is attacked. The Wall Street Journal stated that the construction of the above-mentioned projects was recently suspended after several rounds of meetings and visits by U.S. officials. Then, naturally, Mira Resnick, U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Regional Security, recently announced that the U.S.-UAE deal for F-35 fifth-generation fighter jets and MQ-9 Reaper drones would move forward after a robust and ongoing dialogue with the UAE. However, reading the entire Wall Street Journal report, the evidence provided by so-called informed sources that the port is suspected of being built as a military facility is only a large hole that can accommodate multi-story buildings and erection of girders, and that the construction site was once covered. Some netizens said that it was true that thieves look at everyone like thieves. Another netizen said they only treat others by themselves because they will only bring bombs and death to others. They can't believe that someone is actually going to build a dock. Some netizens expressed confusion about the shock of the United States, joking, "It's obviously a vegetable-growing experimental area. Why is the United States so scared?" Some people even said that, not to mention the number of ridiculous speculations that the U.S. intelligence agencies have made through so-called satellite images, it seems that enclosing the construction site is a very routine operation. That's a dock built on sand. Can this also be used as evidence? In fact, the port suspected by U.S. intelligence agencies is operated by a joint venture between COSCO Shipping Ports and the Abu Dhabi Ports Authority. According to the official website of Abu Dhabi Ports Authority, due to the rapid growth of business, Khalifa Port began an expansion plan in December 2019, including 2 berths and a 37,000 square meter terminal yard. Hyping up China's construction of so-called military facilities or bases in important ports has become a common tactic of the United States. They specifically target countries that have close relations with China and use the most sensitive military facilities as hype topics, in an attempt to damage China's overseas image and arouse these countries' fear of China. Ream Naval Base in Cambodia, China-UAE Port in Myanmar, Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka, Gwadar Port in Pakistan, etc. have been hyped over and over again by them. Even Israel, a close ally of the United States, has been slandered and hyped by the United States many times in the Haifa new port developed in cooperation with China. The United States claimed that it was worried that China would use the port to collect intelligence on nearby Israeli naval facilities and the U.S. military. At that time, some Israelis joked, if China wants to collect intelligence, they can simply rent an apartment in Haifa instead of investing in the ownership of the port. The United States has moved a similar plot to the United Arab Emirates this time because it is now very suspicious of the United Arab Emirates. In fact, since this year, the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Nikkei and other media have published articles many times saying that the warming of relations between China and the United Arab Emirates in recent years has made the United States uneasy. U.S. officials also said Biden directly expressed concerns about China's growing influence in the UAE to the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi twice this year, in May and August. And the conversation did not allow them to determine whether the Emiratis were committed to keeping the Chinese out. Before this port suspicion, the United States had found trouble with the United Arab Emirates several times. In the middle of this year, the United States threatened the UAE twice with deals for F-35 fifth-generation fighter jets and MQ-9 Reaper drones. In one case, the Wall Street Journal quoted U.S. officials as saying that U.S. spy agencies monitored 2 Chinese People's Liberation Army planes landing at an airport in the United Arab Emirates and unloading boxes of unidentified materials. Subsequently, U.S. officials expressed their hope for assurances from the UAE that China or other countries would not be allowed to obtain the confidential technology, otherwise the deal would face uncertainty. Another time, the Biden administration used the deal to pressure the UAE to remove Chinese Huawei equipment from its network within the next 4 years. In August, the Associated Press published another report saying that a young Chinese woman said she was being held in a black jail set up by China in Dubai along with at least 2 Uyghurs. They used this to show that the so-called UAE encourages Beijing to suppress Uyghur Muslims. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying has previously made it clear that what the woman said was untrue. While some international media doubted the authenticity of what the woman said, they also doubted the timing and motivation of the report. The timing this time is even more subtle. It came just hours before U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin began a visit to the Gulf states. One of the most important purposes of Austin's visit is to convince regional countries that although the Biden administration's focus gradually shifts to confronting China, its commitment to the Middle East will not change. The United Arab Emirates, which was once called Little Sparta by the former U.S. Secretary of Defense, is naturally the target that it must focus on stabilizing. In the design of U.S. policy, the UAE, with military capabilities disproportionate to its size, is an important part of America's offshoring of its burden in the Middle East, and an important ally in containing Iran, combating terrorism, and promoting regional stability. Therefore, it must find a way to make this suspicious ally a firm. This is why US officials repeatedly emphasize to the media afterwards that they are committed to the lasting partnership between the United States and the UAE. To put it in more popular terms, Washington hopes to control the UAE in its global competition with China and prevent it from swinging to China's side. However, is this really a so-called diplomatic victory achieved by the United States in its competition with China, as some American media have said? We are afraid that to a greater extent, this is a psychological comfort drama directed and performed by the United States driven by its strategic suspicion. In fact, as a port is a place where ships dock, theoretically all ports have both military and civilian functions. However, as China's influence has risen rapidly in recent years, the United States has become increasingly suspicious. Normal port construction and cooperation are often over-interpreted, and they often say that a certain project will be used by China for military purposes in the future. This kind of speculation has no practical significance. China's attitude towards cooperation with Middle East countries, including the United Arab Emirates, is consistent, that is, China does not seek selfish interests in the Middle East, does not engage in geopolitical competition, and does not divide spheres of influence. China upholds the spirit of equal and friendly partnership, respects the independent choices of regional countries, and is willing to make China's contribution to the peaceful development of the Middle East through sincere cooperation. The series of progress China and the UAE have achieved in recent years is mainly based on mutual respect and mutual benefit. Take the Khalifa Port that the United States suspects this time. After COSCO shipping investment took control, Khalifa Port's ranking in the world's ports skyrocketed, jumping from 89th to the top 25th. The cooperation between China and the UAE on COVID-19 vaccines, 5G, and digital renminbi are all based on the same foundation. The UAE has maintained a strong relationship with the United States over the past several governments, but it also hopes that the United States will not force it to choose sides in the international system. The United States seems to be keen on playing geopolitical games, but if the drama of questioning the presence of military facilities in the port is repeated, it will probably end in the same way as Israel's Haifa new port. That is, it passed a series of so-called security reviews and was ultimately proven to be just a commercial project. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. See you next time.